All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to another anatomy video. Haven't done one in a minute just because the semester has started and it was a little busy, but we are going over the heart in the lab ITA for this week. So I thought what a perfect time for me to kind of talk about this, review for myself, but also post a video as well. So this is going to be part one of many heart videos that I do, probably 3 to 4 total, but just starting out, we'll get right into it. I won't waste my time blabbering. So I just have a few pieces of information here before we get into actually labeling the heart. So what is the function of the heart? To pump blood to the entire body. Without our heart, we wouldn't be alive. So it has a very important job. The heart has 4. So we have our right side, which is right atrium and right ventricle, and then we have our left side, which is left atrium and left ventricle. So 4 chambers, 2 atriums, 2 ventricles. And then here I have what nerve innervates the heart, and this is going to be the vagus nerve. I just feel like that's a really important piece of information when you're talking about the heart, when you're talking about the heart's anatomy and physiology. I think it's important to know that the vagus nerve is what innervates the heart, and that's also cranial nerve 10. I did a video on cranial nerves previously, so if you want to go check that out, go ahead. And then right here, I'm not going to go over this into too much detail, but I just thought it would be something good to have in case someone maybe was confused with the layers of the heart. But here, image, and it kind of shows you this is the layers of the heart right here, right? So then here it's blown up into like a side view. So this really thick part here is going to be the myocardium, myo meaning muscle. Then you have the endocardium, so that's going to be lying right against the heart. So the heart is going to be literally right here up against that. You have the pericardial cavity, you have the visceral pericardial, the parietal pericardial, and then the pericardium, which is going to be that outside fibrous layer. So this is just a list of them from outermost to innermost. So if you took a pin and you stuck it right through the heart, this is what's going to come first. This is what's going to come last in terms of what you are actually touching. So I just thought that would be kind of important to point out before we actually get into the anatomy inside the heart, that there are these different layers that you will likely need to know in terms of like an anatomy class or just information in general. So like I said, there's the fibrous pericardium, which is going to be right there. You have the parietal pericardium, which is right after that. Then you have the pericardial cavity. So that's going to be right there, that little space. You have the visceral pericardium, which is this layer right here. It's kind of hard to see. Myocardium, which is the thickest one because it's muscle. And then the endocardium, which is touching the actual heart inside. Okay, so now that we've gone over some of that little, I guess, basic information, I want to get down here and I want to actually label the heart itself. And we're going to do an anterior view and then a posterior view, just so we can touch all the bases here. And you can find these images online, but I just like, I don't know, I wanted to do a video of labeling it because it can be helpful to watch a video and follow along. So let's just start up in this area right here. So like I said, the heart is divided into 4 different chambers. And I also wanted to note that this is the right side of the body and this is the left side of the body. Oops. So our 4 chambers are going to be, this is going to be the first one, which is the right atrium. I'm going to try my best to write neatly, but we'll see how that goes. So the right atrium actually has 3 different access points. So 3 things that are pouring blood back into it. You can only see 2 here. So these 2 are going to be this one, which is the superior vena cava, and then this one, which is the inferior vena cava. I guess I'll do those in blue. Why not? So superior vena cava. People also like to just call this SVC, and then down here, the inferior cava, or IVC. It's easier when you abbreviate. But anyway, so the blood, the deoxygenated blood, by the way, because this is returning to the heart via the superior vena cava if it's above the heart, or inferior vena cava if it's below the heart. So deoxygenated blood is going to come and end up in the right atrium. So now, if we keep going here, we have this one right here. This right here is a valve. So this is going to be called the tricuspid valve. You can also call this the right oh my gosh, I just had a stroke. Not actually. Atrioventricular valve. Let me type that out. Because it is the valve that is in between the atrium and the ventricle, hence atrioventricular valve. But most people just say tricuspid valve because it's shorter and it's easier to say and write. So after that, we have these little string-like looking things right here. And I guess they don't have the papillary muscle labeled, but that's fine. So these connect to papillary muscle, which is basically going to pull that valve open. But we'll just write this for now. Chordinae, tendineae. Oh my goodness. Sorry to whoever's watching. You might want to put this in like 2-speed because I keep having to rewrite things. Chordinae, tendineae. Yeah, so that's going to attach to papillary muscle, which is not in here right now, but anyway. So then this space right here, like I said, that's going to be the right ventricle. I'm just going to label it RV. So I'm going to start using abbreviations just to save space, but that's going to be a right ventricle. So, okay, I think that's almost the entire side there. So if we come up here, this right here is going to be really important. So this is going to be the pulmonary semilunar valve. Let me see, or I guess they have, oh, okay, I'm just realizing that they have these. Okay, so see, this is where different diagrams can get confusing. So this is pointing to, I guess I'll just say how it's labeled on the diagram, semilunar valves. However, these actually have two different, very distinct names. So I'm just going to create a line for right here. And this is going to be the pulmonary semilunar valve. And then this one, which you can barely see right there, hopefully this is okay to follow, is going to be the aortic semilunar valve, because the pulmonary semilunar valve is going to the lungs, and then the aortic semilunar valve is going to the arch of aorta. Also, it's not listed here, but there is a pulmonary trunk that's going to be pretty much right here, where that box would be. So I just wanted to note that as well, that the pulmonary trunk is what leads up to that. But they don't have that labeled either, which is a little weird. But anyway, so after the blood goes through that pulmonary semilunar valve, it's going to exit the heart via left and right pulmonary arteries. So those are going to be here. So pulmonary arteries. And this is also going to be pulmonary arteries. Just going to abbreviate a little bit there. So these are unique actually, because these are the only arteries in the entire body that have deoxygenated blood. So deoxygenated blood is leaving the heart to go pick up oxygen from the lungs. So that's something that's really important to remember. It is the one unique incidence that arteries actually have deoxygenated blood instead of oxygenated blood going to the entire body. So they go to the lungs, and when they come back, they enter the heart via pulmonary veins, which are going to be right here. And again, this is a really unique case because veins usually carry, and did I spell that right? Yes, because veins usually carry deoxygenated blood, but in this case, like I said, this is going to have oxygenated blood from the lungs. Okay, so then here we're going to have our left atrium, and I'm just going to move that arrow a little bit. So that's going to be the left atrium right here. And then this valve is actually called the mitral valve. Again, you could call that, though, the left atrioventricular valve as well. It really just depends on how you learn it and how you want to talk about it. And then we're going to have, of course, the left ventricle, and then this is going to be called the septum of the heart. And there are actually these things called Purkinje fibers that has to do with the electrical currents, though, of the heart, which I'm not going to get into, though. And also, I really pronounced that horribly, so please ignore my pronunciation. Okay, so after blood gets right here into the left ventricle, it's actually going to go up that aortic semilunar valve and come up here. So they don't really have it labeled, but this is going to be the arch. Oh my gosh, that's labeled horribly. This is the arch of aorta. So that's where blood is coming up, and there's actually 2 coronary arteries that come off of that to supply the blood to the actual heart. So not to the body, but to the heart. So I just wanted to mention that, but you can't see it here. And so they're just calling this the whole aorta. And then up here, we're going to have some of the great vessels that come off of the heart. So this first one right here, the one that I just circled, that's going to be called the brachiocephalic artery. And this actually divides into right common carotid and right subclavian, which supplies the arm and then the head. So then on this side, we're going to have the first, that middle one is going to be the left common carotid. And then this is going to be the left subclavian. And then these are both arteries. Okay, so sorry if that was a little chaotic, but this is going to be the labeled heart. Like I said, they're missing the label of the pulmonary trunk. And hopefully when I talked about the semilunar valves, that made sense. If not, just look up another diagram of the heart. And I actually do have an actual heart model. So I might actually do another video showing like a 3D model of these things. So I guess stay tuned for that. But really quick, let's just do the posterior view real fast, because again, I don't want these videos to be too long and like boring or lecture-like. So we're going to start with the aorta. Here is this superior vena cava. Remember, that's one of the entrances into the right atrium. And then that other entrance is going to be right here, the inferior vena cava. But there is another one, and I'll leave that for the very end. So we also have here the right and left pulmonary arteries. So this one right here, that's going to be our right pulmonary artery. And I'm just going to kind of abbreviate. And then this other side is going to be the left artery. And again, I have them in blue because it's going to be deoxygenated. Now, I might have mixed up blue and red or whatever on the other diagram. But just know that I was writing that one blue for that specific reason. But some of them, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Some of them I forget to do that. Some of them I do. So just always double check that. And then we're going to have the right pulmonary veins under here, right. Once again, I'm spelling incorrectly. Oh my gosh, I almost did it again. Maybe it's the coffee I had. I don't really know. And then here is going to be the left pulmonary veins. And again, I have these in red on this diagram specifically to show that it's bringing blood to the heart that is not deoxygenated, but it's actually oxygenated and it's ready to go get pumped to the entire body. Now, you're probably thinking, what is this arrow right here? That is going to be called the coronary sinus. And that is really important in terms of getting blood flow to the actual heart, because yes, the heart's function is to pump to the entire body, but the heart's function is also to provide blood for itself. So the coronary sinus is going to be that third thing that goes into the right atrium. So I'm just going to put that down here. I was just found out. Yes, that's how I do these videos, is that I take diagrams and cover them up. But anyway, this is going to be one of three that drains into right atrium. Okay, so sorry if the labeling was a little chaotic, but hopefully this video helps starting to learn the basics of heart anatomy and kind of its functions. I'm going to be doing more videos on the heart because I feel like there's a lot to the heart that can be learned. This, I just really wanted to get something labeled and kind of start this little series that I want to do. So yeah, hopefully this video was helpful, and stay tuned for more.